Okay, so hey y'all, Nomadic Shaman here. I don't remember what episode that we're on. I just know that from episode 2021, and I'll let you know the final episode. I'm covering the years of 2022 and 2023. Okay, so at this point, after speaking with my angelic guides and with my spiritual team, they are telling me to not to spare anyone. The only exception would be children. Okay, so when I say that, I am going to speak truth on what I experienced and what transpired as far as what I have observed, what I had witnessed, what I have personally experienced, and in addition to what the information that I was able to see through divination and through mediumship. Okay, so with that, the first thing, so let's go back real quick. The man that I was telling you about that I had met, who was 53, from OkCupid, and I had mentioned that he had did some time prior to for drug possession. That part is true, but I also believe it was also selling drugs. Okay, I don't know what the proper law is for that, but he did time for that. What I didn't speak on, where I said, okay, he's knowledgeable of it, where he did a particular act in 2021 and he either has already done it in 2025 or he is considering doing it in 2025. Either way, once he does it in 2025, he's getting locked up for it. And Spirit had informed me that the 53-year-old is a registered sex offender in the states of Alabama and Maryland. Okay, there you go. The next part that I wanted to go into is, I'm trying to see what the next part that I wanted to cover. Between the years of 2022 and 2023, when I had mentioned I had heard helicopters, above my apartment, drones above my apartment. In addition to that, there were aircraft that was dispensing, Spirit is telling me, some type of biofilm, bio welfare. I heard chemtrails, chemical trails. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to look that up. But I heard chemtrails, chemical trails, okay? Which now looking back makes sense because I generally like to keep my windows open and leave the fan on. And I remember there were a number of times I had to reach out to maintenance because what I thought was mold, and it could have been mold, but there was a black film that was starting to appear within my bedroom window. And so Spirit is telling me put those two and two together. So the film, the black film that was starting to come on my bedroom walls was a result of the bio welfare chemtrail chemical that was dispensing from the aircrafts, okay, and coming through my windows. The other part is this gang stalking whole campaign. Another part of that is they had kidnapping contracts involved in that. They had trafficking, sex trafficking, well, not just sex trafficking, but trafficking contracts, part of the gang stalking campaign. Spirit would show me a vision of white trucks, like white utility vans that would follow me whenever I would go outside walking, either taking the trash out to the dumpster, walking as far as nature walks around the neighborhood, or just walking to the quick, store that's down the street, where I would be followed by utility vans, and those utility vans would be part of kidnapping contracts as well as trafficking contracts. Okay, now what's the other part? One thing I think is also important is, let me before I forget, the 53-year-old that I said that had put something in my food, I found out that exactly what was put into my food, y'all. Spirit led me to this. It is an enzyme that catalyzes a bioluminescent reaction producing light in various organisms. It's a tool used in scientific research, particularly for gene expression studies and in vivo imaging, due to its ability to to emit light in response to specific cellular events. Okay, so not only was I undergoing this whole gang stalking campaign for someone's revenge plot, because that's how it initially started, was the bitch was mad that her dude was feeling a certain type of way and jealous because of how I could make him feel emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, however you want to put it. She went ahead and left this whole blazing trail behind her with deciding to do partnerships with different organizations, okay? She was also part of the Eastern Stars, okay, as well as part of a coven, an online coven, is what I'm being told, and also part of a Luciferian sex cult. She was in a lot of these different organizations running smear campaigns, partnering with the government, partnering with members who work for the CIA, partnering with research facilities. I mean, her reach was large. I had no idea. I just thought it was just some street chick. You know what I'm saying? I felt a certain type of way in her feelings. And even though that part was true, she was also using her positioning to, one, start this whole damn gang stalking campaign for a variety of reasons, but also recruiting people, okay, to come against me for a variety of reasons. I'm also being told that I wasn't the only one, but I'm the last one. I'm the last one. So, at least for her, I'm the last one. So moving forward, in June of 2023, they also did affect my water supply. There would be countless of times where I would see water companies that were working within the area. Yeah, they were working within the area, all right. They were fucking up the plumbing and poisoning the water supply. More specifically, my water supply, okay? So when I share with you ways of physical attempts as far as coming for my life, that's another example. Spiritual attacks, death spells aside, that's another example, okay? Aside even from the physical, the many physical hitmen who were contracted to take me out, okay? Now, one thing, and let me just go back to this part. So, the enzyme in question is called luciferase. I'm going to spell it Luciferase, which makes sense. Why? Because the man, the 53-year-old man, the one who's a registered sex offender, I did not know that at the time I was dealing with him, who put the substance in my food. He also, his job at the time, if I remember correctly, he transported goods for a university. I believe he worked within the medical portion or aspect of that university where he was delivering medical supplies around the DMV area. Okay, so now that we've addressed that, so when I say I had no idea the magnitude and everything that was included within this gang stalking campaign at the time, y'all, I had no idea. But let's move on, shall we? One of the other ways if you find me jumping around, one of the other ways that they would come to me, let's talk about specifically spell work. They would send your girl parasites and mites, spiritual mites, spiritual parasites. So what does that do? That's like it has you itching, okay? Where you're constantly scratching, constantly itching. They would continuously do spell work where my hair was breaking and falling off in clumps. It didn't help that, my chakras were being attacked, so therefore my central nervous system was being dysregulated. And of course, I'm thinking, well, that has to affect growth, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor. I did go to school for pre-med, but I'm not a doctor. It's funny how things work out. Now I'm a shaman. But so I didn't go to school for pre-med, but I'm like, it has to affect it at that in some type of capacity, right? As I'm talking about when your central nervous system is dysregulated and how that impacts or affects other functions within the body. That other functions could very well be hair growth, okay, where my hair was falling out in clumps. What else? I've already shared with you how my mail was being stolen. The many ways, and it's funny because I hear that move in silence, move in silence, move in silence. And at the time, because of how I was being tracked, it was difficult for me to move in silence. Why? They were physically stalking me outside, okay? My physical whereabouts, my phone, all of my digital devices were hacked into. So they were seeing how I was moving online. All of my accounts, all of my apps were hacked into. I had listening devices and cameras in my home. They were seeing how I was moving here. Meditation, what they would do is they would astral project within my dream state. So they would see what was going on within my dreams. They would astral project in my home. So they would, through remote viewing or astral projection, so they would see how I would move, throughout my home. They would also do mirror magic. So that's another way to gain insight into my home, as well as scrying. These are the different ways that they would infiltrate, invade, and intrude. And as if that's not enough, they would send over monitoring spirits, familiar spirits. Okay, some people would use their pets. This is what Spirit was telling me. Use their pets, use their children so that they could see through their eyes. The enzyme that was put in my body, they were monitoring how different bodily functions would work or what it was triggered by. I mean, talk about invasive, talk about intrusive. Okay, it was just like I literally had no privacy. They would also, as if that wasn't enough, of course they had karmic readers, tarot card readers to constantly read up on my energy. One interesting thing that I'll tell you and I'll share with you is it doesn't matter how much you cloak, that you may think that you're protected. If you are coming against an individual that is higher ranked than you, that means that they are seeing from a much higher level, bird's eye view down, which means that they can see you. You understand me? So in other words, if somebody, let's say if somebody who's a true empath or an intuitive, okay, who can see, regardless of how they may present themselves or carry themselves, they can see cut right through, laser focus through the bullshit. Okay, so therein lies no difference. You can put layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of protection, and somebody who's truly tapped in and you're coming against them and let them be higher ranked than you, they can uncloak, and see your true intentions and nature. Okay, so let me share that with you all. The next part that I wanted to share with you all is they would constantly reroute my internet connection, so they would also see my activities online. I'm trying to figure out what else that I wanted to speak about. Whew, it's just so much. It's just so much. They would send negative frequencies, and because they were these people through stalking, right, monitoring me being a huge scientific project, they were able to identify that I was clairaudient. So they would send certain frequencies that, let's say, somebody to like the naked ear wouldn't be able to hear. But if you're a medium and you can hear certain things, then you could probably hear the frequencies that they were sending. You see what I'm saying? So I would hear certain frequencies that they were sending, and it was really to knock me off my equilibrium. Okay, so that's another example. If I didn't mention this before, also in between 2022 and, no, Spirit's telling me 2023. Within 2023, these people created a GoFundMe account that was affiliated to either a church, a mosque, or a spiritual, something that's connected to spirituality, in my namesake. So if it wasn't my personal name, it was connected to my business name, and they were asking people for donations or asking people for money. Some people were actually even pretending that they were my business manager. Y'all, even though I had my business and spirituality, Spirit had instructed me the first year for me to give back. So I never asked anybody for money. Not my first year of business. I never asked anybody for money. Everything was gifted for those people who were in need. And it was, I didn't advertise it, but if I did come across somebody, either through my social media platforms or friends or family, it was done for free without charge. So anybody who was lying and presenting themselves as either they were me or my business, asking for money, y'all, that wasn't me. That was not me. I ain't take any money from anybody. No one was working with me in partnership as my business manager, because I was instructed by the Most High my first year of business that it was going to be a gift for others, y'all. Anyways, before I go to my next video, let me just stop here because we're coming up on 20 minutes. And so I'll see you on the other side. All right, bye.